Well, good evening. It's your girl, Sean LeRae, and welcome to Boss Talk Live. So, I am so excited for my guest tonight. Um, this young man, I have known him for, oh my gosh, over 20 years. And he is the love poet. Now, I know that you ladies out there are dying to know what that actually means. So, his name is King James Edmonds, and he is a poet for hire. He writes love poems for the tongue tied, the writer's blocked, and those who just appreciate a professional touch. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring to my stage the love poet, y'all. Welcome, King James.
Hello, Sean LeRae. Welcome. Good to be here.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Ooh, the love poet. I'm so excited to get this conversation popping. So
Okay.
we are live on Facebook and on YouTube tonight. And so want to say hello to all of y'all out there. Thank you for joining us again. This is my fourth show. And if you have been following me, you know that all of my guests so far have been women. So tonight,
Okay.
I am bringing a little testosterone to the platform. And I
Okay.
think I'm going to have a male once a month.
I think
So
that's a
I'm
good
going
idea.
to call it, let's see, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it the Gentleman's, Gentleman of the Month selection. That's it. So, King James, welcome as my first male guest. Gentlemen, you are the gentleman for the month of December.
Well, it's an appropriate month because, life is a present. That's why it's called a gift. So
Ah,
that's very
yeah.
appropriate.
I
Very
love
nice
it.
to
I
be
love it. See, that's that poet thing going on, y'all.
already, right? Nice
Yes.
to be here with you tonight, Sean. And, as I said, it's really comfortable in studio, with you. And just looking forward to sharing some information about my upcoming project, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point. And then obviously, I have been writing poems, love poems, for quite a number of years, actually.
Okay. Well, so before we jump into that piece, where are you from? Are you a native Californian? Because we those are few and far between.
No, actually, I'm from New York State, which is upstate New York. Many people, when you tell them that, they say, well, that doesn't count as a real New York. And that's why I don't have the heavy accent, because I always get accused of that. They say, oh, you can't be from New York. You don't talk like this and that. No, no. So I'm from upstate New York. Yeah.
Yeah, that's New York proper, the city,
The
Manhattan.
city. But I did spend
Yes.
some time in Brooklyn. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, so you know what it's all about being cold, if you're from upstate New York.
I absolutely positively do. And, in a sense, I have to tell you that I do miss some aspects of New York. Obviously the cold, not too cold, but I do like a little bit of brisk weather.
Whew, I'm from Ohio. I do not miss the cold. I miss my family, but not that weather.
Not
I
the
like to
cold.
live in the spring. Yes. So I just want to say hello to Renee. Give her a shout out. Thanks for joining. You are our first guest to post tonight. So happy to have you with us. So, King, so you're from upstate New
Yes.
York. When did you get over here into the paradise, is what I like to call
Well,
it?
actually, I came about almost 15 to 16 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but who keeps track? But I've been here quite a while. I know we've been friends for at least, 20 years. So
Oh
I
my
think it's
gosh.
been more than 20 years I've been here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I came here in 1997 from New York too, but I
Right.
was from the city, from New York proper, the Manhattan part.
Nice. Okay.
And we have another Renee that's joining us. Thank you, Renee. Hello. Hey, hey. Thanks for joining. So King,
Yes.
this thing that I'm sure that the ladies out there want to know, and the gentlemen too, because I'm sure they're curious, is how you got the title, the Love Poet. So
Well,
tell me a little bit about that.
basically, some years ago, I had a friend by the name of Gary. I have to keep some anonymity, so Gary F. And he basically worked at a very prolific, stationery store, and I would frequent there quite a bit. And he had been in love with this woman for quite a number of years. And we were just casually speaking. He just said, I've given her the trip to Cancun, the flowers, the everything that I can. He actually had brought her a car the previous Valentine's Day, and he said, "Well, I just wish there was something that I could give her." And I had been doodling, writing poems for a select group of friends, and I said, "Well, you know what, Gary? I can write a poem for her." And it was just like he had an epiphany. He said, "You can do that?" And I was like, "Yeah." It just was pretty commonplace for me. And he commissioned me to actually do a poem for him. And commission means I got paid. so,
That.
so he officially paid me to do the first poem, and then I was off and running. And he loved the poem. And when you do something initially, you always think it's not going to be up to the standard that you want or your client is going to want. But he loved it, and from there on, I just continued to write love
Wow.
poems.
I love that. And you know what
Thank
I
you.
love too, King, is that, it's like sometimes we overlook the things that are dressed in opportunity, right? And so
Correct.
you could have said, "Oh yeah, I wrote that poem for my friend Gary and that was it." But I appreciate that you saw the um the positive aspects of that could take you to a different level and create something out of just your gifts. And I think that that's what I mean when I say boss. A boss is
Right.
somebody, well, first of all, it stands for bold, one of a kind, sensational, superstars. And so I think that your craft is so unique because every day you don't find somebody who's a poet for hire or the love poet, indeed. And so I love that you saw the opportunity and you seized it because that's what a boss does.
And just to follow up on your statement about the boss, and then I'll answer the question, is that you definitely qualify.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, look at me.
Yes, because our friendship goes a long way. But here's the thing that I just feel that everyone has something unique to share with the world, and I think the biggest disservice is to have a talent or a gift or an ability and not share it with the world. And there are many great singers that are not in that limelight, and because we all make life choices. And thank God that the Lord looks out for fools and kids, and I'm not a child. So I've been very fortunate in a lot of aspects of my life, and I basically took the ball and I ran with it. And then once I did the poem for Gary, a few other people reached out to me and they heard about it, and I showed it off. And by the way, back then the poem was actually black and white, and it was a very thin frame. I still have it. I
Wow.
still actually have it. And, I just would implore those that have a gift or a talent. You're never too young. You're never too old. Follow your dream because dreams don't die. And another thing is denial. I mean, delay doesn't mean denial of a dream,
Right.
because
Ooh, I
just to,
love that.
add this, the Colonel, I don't eat his chicken, but, Mr. KFC himself became a millionaire in his 70s, I believe. Or was it his 80s?
Right. I think it
Yes.
was 80.
Yeah. And so it's not the money aspect, but that's just an example that, if you still have something that you dream about and aspire to do, by all means do it.
Absolutely. I just wrote that. Delay does not mean denial of a dream. I really like that. And your sister is joining us from New York State.
She's in upstate New York as well, and
All
she's
right.
probably freezing. So a shout out to Pastor Carla. Hi, sis. Hope you're doing well. I can't see you, but I feel your presence and your spirit. And just to speak a little bit about my sister. She's an amazing, amazing pastor woman, and she's done some incredible things in her ministry. Is definitely changing women's lives. And if I can do a plug for her, I'm just going to say it's oh goodness, I just had a brain cramp. Sorry, sis. But it's called Iron Sharpening Iron Ministries, and it's
Ooh,
Pastor
I
Carla
love that.
Broadnax. Yes.
Well, Pastor Carla, if you would just go ahead and type that in the chat and I'll post it up here. And while we're giving shout outs, I want to give a shout out to my childhood sister friend, Ellen Peacock Wilson, and welcome you to Boss Talk. Thank you for joining in. I love, like you were saying, King, our friendship goes a long time, many years back, 20 years. And that's such a gift. And I always appreciate that, when you can have friends for a long time. And that's when you know that it's true. Like when I go home or even from California, I am still talking to people that I knew literally when I had one pigtail and one afro puff, ashy knees, ankle socks, and probably bruises because I was always jumping off of something or falling off of something. But when you have those kinds of friends, it's priceless.
It
Very, and don't
is.
laugh because I really did look like that, but that's okay.
But here's the amazing thing: we met through poetry. We met, and then you invited me to church, and we were part of the arts and media. And those were, people that loved Christ and basically had talents and skills. And we did plays, we did improvs, we had poetry night. And so the first time that you came up and I was on the same program and you came up and performed, I was infatuated, with your words and your presence and everything else. And I just knew then that we were going to be special friends. And so from there, we initiated our friendship through poetry.
Yes. The
And then we,
arts is a great
yeah,
thing to bond over, don't you think?
I think it is. And I think that, everyone's, because a lot of people that I talk to who are just my contemporaries or friends, and they say, I write poetry, but I don't perform it. I believe that I have something to say, but I don't say it. And, say it, because in your poetry, in your words, there's someone that needs that right now to maybe get over a hump in their life, to change their life, to do something different in their life. And right now, the mental anguish that a lot of it is self implored, put on us by our own thoughts and actions. But, say what you need to say, be a poet. And I tell them, I say, everyone is a poet, and poetry doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme. It's just like prayer doesn't have to be on your knees. You're just simply reaching out to the higher power, which is Christ Jesus in my life and God. And then when you just express that, it simply comes across as you being you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Chantel Denise says King is the man. He always
I
uses
shan't.
talent. And
Nice to
it
see
is
you
so
too.
true. What you said about poetry not having to rhyme, number one, and that like I feel like it lives inside a person. And
Absolutely.
and you write you write what you know. So tell me, what are some of your inspirations when you are writing poetry outside of when you have been inspired by your clients? And I want to come back to that. But first, I'd just like to know, like, what is your inspiration or your muse?
Well, my greatest inspiration is my mother, Mary Louise. And I thank her for just the life that she gave me, but also for the love that she shared with me and my siblings. And so second would be of course my father. He was a part of a very magnificent gospel singing group, and then there's also my sister, as I mentioned, Pastor Carla, and then Lisa, which is my younger sister, and then I have another sibling, which is a half, which is Lisa as well. That's a different story, but still, she's my
One of a time.
sister and I love her dearly. And so all these people that were in my circle were an inspiration to me at some point and currently in my life. And I think if I can be an imitator of some of the qualities they have, I think that speaks volumes.
I love that. And it's so funny because when we're kids, we don't necessarily appreciate our parents' guidance and all of their amazingness. And we then when we become adults, we learn just how amazing they are outside
True,
of
true.
being our mom or dad. Because I look back on my own mom, and like when she was my mom, she was amazing and she was beautiful and she was fashionable and all of
Mhm.
that. But when I grew to be a woman, I really was able to appreciate everything that she was as a woman and how she inspired and instilled what she did in me. And so I totally get what you're saying about, your mom and dad being your inspiration. I actually would have loved to have met them to get some of the stories, but I'm connected to Miss Carla, to Pastor Carla now, so I get the real skinny on you, my brother. That part.
Well,
So
she's very introverted, doesn't like to talk a lot, and you really got to pull a string to get her to pray.
okay, so I'm just gonna not believe that for one
Not
second
being
because she
facetious,
related
she's
to you.
amazing. And
Renee
so,
said
just to answer
priceless.
the other part of the question, because there's other inspirations too. One of them is Tyler Perry. The other is, of course, Kevin Hart. And different reasons, but these are inspirations to me as well because um, being in the forefront of the public eye and having less said about you as far as insidious things or being in trouble or making errors in judgment and things like that, you don't hear too much about that about them. And then my other inspiration, of course, is Joyce Meyer, Pastor TD Jakes, because I listen to them. And recently I just been embracing a lot of Les Brown. I think this gentleman has one of the greatest speaking voices in the entire world. And he has an urgency about his messages. And, I was listening to him the other day and I just wanted to get up and make a donation, but he doesn't ask for them. It was just really amazing. So those are people that are inspirations to me. And then also, the woman that I'm talking to is a great inspiration to me as well. And I'm going to brag on you a little bit now. Okay.
Oh,
But,
here we go.
Sean LeRae Brinkley has been through and she has maintained a love for Christ. She has maintained truth in everything that she does. And at the homecoming for her husband, God bless him, Mr. Brinkley, you can tell the quality of a woman's friends by the amount of friends she has. And they were all long term friends. And
Mhm.
that means that you have quality about your life, your quality about your friendships and your relationships. And I've been with you for a very long time as a platonic friend. And I pray that that never changes because you're a true inspiration to me. Thank you.
Well, don't make me mad. And we'll say,
But listen, let me tell the world this though, right?
no.
The thing is that Sean LeRae has read me my rights and I have read hers. So the great thing is that we have an honest relationship. And I'll tell her in a minute, I say, girl, and she say, boy. Go ahead, say it.
Boy.
Say it. she say, she say, boy. And she's the only one that can do that. I love you, Sean LeRae.
Love you back, King. So I think that uh, when and Chantel Denise, she said, "Truth be told, let the folks know." Thank you, my sister. So listen, when it comes to poetry,
Yes.
uh,
Let's talk about it.
you were saying that poems don't have to rhyme, and
Correct.
so when we think that about poems, a lot of people's poems do rhyme, and they are and they can still have great meaning in that. A lot of the poetry, excuse me, that I do, I rhyme it, but sometimes I don't. But I appreciate what you said because it kind of opens the horizons to what people think of as poetry. And so when you are doing a poem and you're not seeking to make it rhyme, how do you kind of make it sort of, let's see what I'm trying to say, how do you kind of make it blend together? Because I feel like it's a blend of your thoughts, your emotions, and all of that. So how do you manage that? Do you have a process or anything like that?
Well, when I'm hired by a client, the first thing that we do is we set a time to meet. And I prefer face to face, but in the times we're dealing with now, some of my clients we meet by Zoom. And if it's face to face, I basically start to write the poem in my mind, even without writing it down. And I usually can come up with the title of it and the words. And I know that this is a gift from, my Father, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. The words just seem to come and I get a completeness when I know that the poem is diamond, when I know that it's perfect and for that client. And there's a few revisions that I do have to make, but I sense and I see the poetry, the poem, excuse me, in their eyes. I actually
Mm,
do, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And so when a person is talking about someone that they care very deeply about, when they're talking about someone that they love,
wow.
I somehow, excuse
Are you there?
me, yes, I somehow live vicariously through their words. And it just comes from my heart, and the words just come. Excuse
It's okay. I
me.
love it.
This is the dramatic pause, right?
That's all right, my
I get
brother.
emotional because of the fact that my clients are my stars, and their words mean that much to me. So I take those words and I transpose them. And the one thing that has happened with, I would say, out of my many, many clients, at least 75%, once they've read my poetry that I've written for them, have cried in front of me.
Wow. Hmm.
Yes.
Well, I certainly cried when you pay tribute to my king, William Joseph, at his homegoing service. I think that I could feel your heart in the poem, and I love that you got emotional right there, because I think that I love that simply because it means that you're doing what you love, which is such a gift. And we talked about talents. It's like, the story of the talents in the Bible.
Yes.
The one guy, bought some land and stuff. The other guy, and one guy, I can't, the whole thing, but whatever. The one guy though, he came and brought his talents back. He buried them, right? And
Right.
so that is
Saving it for
so,
another day.
yes, I love how the Bible
Right.
comes to life, because some people are living in fear of using their talents,
Hmm.
afraid of what people might think, afraid of failure.
Right.
And it's like, failure is just a step on the ladder to success. And I think that when you have something that's burning in your soul, you got to say it, you got to do it. And so I love that you got emotional there, because it just shows that you are using your God given talent. I call it your God given, God driven purpose. You're living in it, brother. That is amazing.
Well, here's an observation. The bamboo tree, which is the Chinese tree, it stays underground for 5 years before it actually peeks its head through the cement or the soil. And once it reaches the air, it actually grows in a period of 5 months, 90 feet tall. And
Wow.
so there was an anecdote that said basically a gentleman had came by, and this gentleman was watering the ground, just watering the ground. And he was seeing periodically, and he kept doing it, and he did it for a period of 5 years. And the guy, because see, there's always going to be critics in your life. There's always going to be
Oh.
people that say, you can't do this. And as Mike Tyson would say, that's ludicrous. He would just, it's just not something that's going to happen. But the fact is that he ignored what the outsiders or the other people were saying, and he continued to water it. And then Eureka, he blossomed, it blossomed, and then you
Mm.
have the result. And so in there lies a story that just says, regardless of the tedious work that you do, never cease from doing good. Never
Mm.
stop from being an asset to others. Never stop from being positive around people. And sometimes you get up in the morning, you get up in the afternoon, and it's just like, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to be a grouchy person today. And we make those choices, but yet you still have the ability to change and to make decisions that can affect the world. Yes, you listening in the audience as well, you can affect changes in the world. And I believe I am going to change the world through my music, through my poetry, and through loving people. And if I could
Mm.
do that, and the loving part is hard in traffic. The loving part is
Okay, in LA for sure. For sure.
in LA traffic, that's tough. But if I could do that, then I think that I'm grown as a person and to share, the love, with others, and they in turn should reciprocate prayerfully.
Absolutely. You know what? I love that you gave sort of like instructions on how to live your life and how to, inspire others and be an asset. I love that. Never cease doing good and be an asset. Of course, that's biblical as well. Never cease doing good. But it's
Mhm.
so interesting that fear stops people. Fear stops people in their tracks. And, you know, God says he does not give us a spirit of timidity, right? And all of that. But have you ever felt that kind of fear in some of the work that you do? And after you answer this, I want to make a segue because you gave me one. So go ahead and answer that, and then we'll take a dip somewhere else.
So the question was, have I ever felt fear?
The fear,
I
yeah.
can't raise both hands and both feet, but yes.
Woo! So when you could you perform your poetry besides,
Yeah.
and we'll get more into your personalized poetry, but you perform your poetry to music,
Yes.
right? And so
I
you mentioned doing music.
have.
So let my audience know about that.
Well, there's a project that is upcoming prayerfully in 2022, and God's timing is perfect. I won't say much more about it, but be tuned in, and you will hear music that will, I believe, change your life. And it's my personal poetry that, as you said, has been put to music, and I've done that, and it's been simmering or marinating for quite a number of years, and I believe now is the time to release it, and I'm very, very excited about that, and we'll see. Yes,
Awesome. Hey, that
awesome,
reminds me. That reminds me
awesome. Oh
of
my
the
God,
time,
yes.
gosh, that we
What
we performed together.
we
Um,
did? What?
we performed together.
Yes, yes. I
Um,
actually sang background for you one time too.
oh, that's true. Black
in,
Silk, yeah.
in Burbank.
And
Yeah,
but
with Black Silk.
what was
Yes,
that place that was it? It was one of the colleges. Was it UCLA? I think it was.
right. And we sang Down Home Blues.
We did, but we did something with your poetry too.
Yeah, I think I came up after you, but that was at the UCLA. It was midfield. It was summertime, and it was a huge, huge event.
Hot.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
remember
I
that.
sang background for your poetry.
And you sang background to my poetry.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Fun
You remember
stuff.
that?
Memories. When we could go outside to play.
Yeah,
That-
that's when I was slim. That was quite a while ago. Wow.
yeah, me too.
Yes.
Um, so listen, I
Yes.
know you talked about your music that is coming up. So that's great. But I also think I remember you having a radio show. So tell us
I
a
had
little
a radio show in New York, which was called Kaleidoscope, and it was under a different name that I used to DJ, and that name will remain in anonymity because I
you are
was
safe.
chunky
I
then,
know
and I
this.
had a name that fit my chunkiness. But I did host a radio show, and there's another one that I did for a short period of time out here, which is going to resurface as well. But the priority right now, of course, is my writing and my poetry. And if I could interject an item here, is that as part of my upcoming weekend, I will be at the LA Women's Expo. And I hope to have many of my listeners and viewers to attend, and it should be a very, very nice event. The dates are going to be December 11th from 10 to 5, and December 12th from 11 to 5 at the LA Convention Center. Tickets are free. Feel free to just go and visit, the website, womenslaexpo.com, and you'll see a plethora of all the information that is needed. And hopefully you can get a chance to come out and please stop by and visit my booth. And you can visit my website. Can I plug this right here? Is that okay, sis?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's thepoetsrain.com. That's ThePoets rain.com. And visit the website. And, obviously, I would love to have you as a client. So, consider that option as well. And I hope to see you at the show if you can attend. And keep in mind, it is free, and it's going to be a lot of free services for the women and things of that nature. So make yourself visible, ladies.
So I love that expo. I have gone to it
Yes,
um, for, well, pre-pandemic. Um, and there's always a lot of really great things that they have there. I'm so excited that you'll have a booth there. It's well attended, and it's just there's just so much there to see and to do and to they have great speakers that come to. Okay, I did that wrong, so let me fix that. I've got to change LA Expo, LA Women's Expo, right?
I believe so. Yes,
I spelled it wrong.
I love the glasses, Sean Ray.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
They're fashionable.
Rocking the hoops.
There, I think that's it. LAWomen'sExpo.com.
Yes,
Yes. All right. So I know that that is a big event. And was it a difficult decision for you to step out there like that? Because that event is huge.
correct. Yes, it was, but it wasn't. It was just like you knew that it was the right thing to do. It's not like I got hairs on my back or my neck or something like that. It was just like this is a step towards your destiny, and this is a step that you have to do. And there's many opportunities that come and go in a lifetime. It's just like somebody asked me the other day. They said, "Have you ever been in love?" I've been in love twice in my life, and I maybe should have married both of the women, but it was a decision that I made that maybe I do regret to this day. But you can't relive, and so when an opportunity
Mm.
comes, do it afraid. Just do it afraid. And if it's not the right thing to do, you'll get an acknowledgement from God that you need to do it in a different direction. Like I sewed shoes for a short time. I knew after 2 weeks that wasn't my destiny. It just wasn't something that I was meant to do. And so, to answer your question, yes, it was a little bit intimidating to do it. And I did it afraid. And I'm happy with my decision. And prayerfully, things will work out very, very well in that regard.
I love that. I love that you cannot relive and do it afraid. I think that, you know, a lot of times people see people who are out there in the public eye, out there in the limelight,
Right.
and they think that these people are fearless. I know I perform, and every time I'm afraid, I'm a little bit nervous. I start to get into my head. And but I just know that God uses that as adrenaline to propel me forward to greatness. And so every time I take the stage, whether it's a virtual stage or a physical stage, there's a little bit of the butterflies, there's a little bit of the, and I think it's every time. You know, Lisa Nichols, who is one of the most sought after speakers in the country and the world, has admitted that before she goes out, every time there's a little bit of fear, but you use that fear to propel you forward to you know to the greatness that you're about to explode with and give to the others around you and that sort of thing. And I love that. And I love also that you decided just rather recently, right? You got your website and decided to take your poetry sort of to the next level, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What made you decide that this is the time to do that?
Well, I got the piece from God about my decision, and then it seemed like everything just came into place, which is when He has a plan for you. it does come into the place. And here's the thing that you have to understand, and I'll refer to Genesis 22, and I'll even go back, well, to my youth a little bit, and I'll put it all together. But when I used to go to camp, we had an exercise that we would do where you would have a buddy, and you would stick with your buddy because you're in the woods and everything like that. And so it was something that they did, for security and also protection and things of that nature. And so we had this exercise that we would do where your buddy would take about maybe 5 steps in front of you, and you would hold out your hand, and the counselor would say, "Fall back." You remember that?
Yes, yes.
And you would have to fall back, and you would have to trust your buddy, and he would have to catch you. And thank God, in most cases, they did, because they would get reprimanded if they didn't. So, in interjecting that with Genesis 22, when the Lord had told Abraham to take his son, Isaac, up into the mountains and prepare to sacrifice him, I want to have that kind of faith in the buddy that I was in camp with. But the biggest buddy I had is Jesus Christ. And to have him have that kind of trust in me, that I would just know that if he's leading me in the direction to do it, and to fall back and trust his loving arms to guide me and catch me. And so when Abraham was willing to do that, and then in the thicket, he said, "Stop." An angel of the Lord came upon him, and a voice said, "Stop." And he had provided the ram in the thicket for him. And so if you step out on faith, and it's right, it may seem humongous, it may seem huge, but the ram is in the thicket. And sometimes we're not waiting on the Lord, he's waiting on us.
Ooh, I love you. Better preach, brother. Come on now. I love that story though, because you know, every time I read that, I'm like, it's almost like I'm reading it for the first time, because I'm sort of like in anticipation of what it must have taken to be just like, this is my son, but I am going to be obedient.
Till death.
Obedient.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's a great example of how we need to be obedient to God, and that if we are, then he'll take care of the rest.
The only thing he can't do is fail. He's the same today, tomorrow, and forever. And I
Mm,
think the most important thing is that just we remember, because because of our human condition, we always fall out of favor with ourselves because we look at man. And one of the things that my mother would always tell me and my sisters, she would always say, "Man will fail you every single time," and she would say
mm.
that. And just a little bit more about my mother. She was a street corner preacher. They used to call her Mama Louise, and she would go out in the corner. And my mother was a short lady, and she's talking to these gangbangers and these big guys and stuff like that, and they just look at her, "Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." And they
I
never
love
had the whip, or they never had the hand of my mother, but they understood to go ahead and say, "Yes, ma'am." And so it just goes to show that many times you can be among giants, but the biggest giant is Christ
it.
and his
Mm,
and his love. That's the biggest giant that we have. And when you speak about that and you know that in your heart, there's a peace that surpasses all understanding, all of it. Don't try
mm.
to figure it out. Just trust
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Renee just commented, sometimes you
me.
have to be willing to let something you love go to be obedient. Nothing is by coincidence, it's always his design. Absolutely. I love that. I don't call them coincidences, I call them God incidences.
That's good.
Because we,
Yeah,
yeah, we always are like, oh, so in shock or in awe of what happens. And it's like, but remember whose you are. You serve an amazing God who wants to see you do well and
absolutely.
give him the glory. And I think that that's the part that sometimes we forget. We
Absolutely.
start to
Yeah.
think that we are all of that, and it's like, no, 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 but by the grace of God.
But by the
So
grace of God.
yes, yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. So your event is this Saturday. And did you set a goal for yourself for this event?
For the event, as far as to get clients or just to,
Mm-hmm.
well, I put a lot into, my presentation. So you'll find a lot of information being disseminated. Obviously, February 14th, 2022 is a month away. After Christmas, everything flies, right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
just a word out to those that are looking for a very unique gift to share with a loved one. And I do poems for, same-sex couples. I do poems for, everyone. So it doesn't matter. And love is my forte, but I do them for every occasion, every event. And feel free to, come by and say hello. Tell them that you saw me on, Boss Talk, and hopefully become a client, and it would be great. So yes, just come out and be a part of it. I think it'll be a great event, and they're anticipating a huge amount of people. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have something here that I want to show to my audience. I don't know. Let me see it go over this way. When love defies words, call King a romantic poet for hire. And what this is the Daily News, is it not?
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of I love it. That's a great shot of you too, by the way. See, I'll show it again.
Thank
That's really impressive and must have been very encouraging for you to have that story written about you in um in the Daily News.
you.
When
Well,
was
it
that?
was it was interesting how it came about because I had worked at the Daily News for a short time, and at that particular time, I was ready, but I wasn't ready. It's like Bernie Mac would say, "I know him, but I don't know him." And so sometimes you have to wait on God's timing. And so I took it upon myself to be persistent. And so another key, ladies and gentlemen that are listening, is that persistence is also a very important key. And I went actually down there and I said, listen, I do poetry. You guys should do a story on me. And they looked at me with the Scooby Doo look. And I came down there three additional times. And then basically, when I was about to throw my hands up and say they're not going to do it, I got a call from the Daily News, and they said we'd like to go ahead and do a story on you. So my first thought is that it was going to be a small article, and then they said, well, we have to set an appointment to come to your place, and we're going to take a photo. I was like, okay. I said, well, why would they take a photo? It's just going to be a little small write up. And so they went ahead and did that. And then they said, well, your actual article is going to come out on Valentine's Day. So I buy the paper and I'm looking in the front section, looking for the little article about the poet. And then I saw it on the business page and I was shocked. I was shocked, but
Yeah,
not surprised. And therein lies the story as to how that came about. But it was simply about the persistence of being one to follow through and to ask because we have not, because we ask not.
that
And
part.
so, that's how that came about. And it gave me a good kick to my business at that particular time, which wasn't officially a business. I was more like a freelancer. And that's the honest to God truth, how that came about. And it was an amazing, amazing time for me. And I felt very blessed and very honored to do that because a lot of people can't say that they've been on the front page of a business section. So I was very fortunate and I thank God for that opportunity.
Yes, I love it. And what I also love, number one, is your persistence and the boldness that it took. That's a boss move. The boldness that it took to say, "Hey, I've got something that you need." And I think that sometimes we don't do that. We shy away from that. Gigi says we have not because we ask not.
Correct.
Absolutely. And I love, love, love that because whenever I think of that scripture, then I think of God has plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. And so if you're sitting on your gifts, you can't get to that hope. You can't get to that future. And you're calling God a liar.
Yes. And
And so I love that.
I just want to mention that's confirmation because I talked to my sister earlier today, and every Wednesday we have a time of meditation and prayer. And so the Lord had put it on my heart after I prayed this morning. He said, ask your sister to give you three scriptures, and she knows what they are. And the one you just mentioned was one of them.
Wow, look at that.
Thank you for
Confirmation.
confirmation, Lord. Confirmation.
Confirmation. I love it. Gwendolyn says, romantic poet for hire with Valentine's events just around the corner. Absolutely.
Hope to
Absolutely.
see you at the show.
Yes. Yes. So, King, we just have a few minutes left, and there's so much. I really want to reiterate that you can catch King at the LA Women's Expo this Saturday. From what time on Saturday?
It's going to be from 10 to 5 on Saturday, 11 to 5 on Sunday. It's free admission. It's going to be a plethora of free items for the ladies, manicures, pedicures,
Ooh.
wine tasting. It's girls for the girls and the ladies.
Well,
So
one
make
of the
sure you
things,
show up.
yeah, one of the things I want to tell you ladies too is you do need to go. It is a free event, but you do need a ticket. So you have to go to the website and get that free ticket. It's a wonderful event. There's in fact I think the first time I went, Jane Fonda was speaking and actually came down and was kind and spoke with me for a few minutes and all of that.
Nice.
So it's a really great event. I got my makeup done that day, and so it's a lot of fun. And but I do want to give you some time, King, because I'd love for you to go ahead and I want to showcase your talent.
Sure.
And what better way to do that than to have you read the poem that you wrote for my King William Joseph?
Ah. Okay. Well, I would have to move.
Go ahead and make that move.
Okay. Excuse me, folks.
I'll take you off for just a second,
That
and
would be a
you.
good idea.
All right, there we go. So while King is getting ready for that, I'm just really want to say that a lot of what we talked about today was just really using the gifts and your talents that God has given you. And I call them your God given, God driven, living in your God given and God driven purpose. And when you do that, there's no joy like that joy to be living in the way that God designed you. And so I invite you all out there, if there is something burning in your belly and you're afraid, Joyce Myers, reiterated by King, says, do it afraid. Do it afraid. Do not spend time worrying or wondering how it will come out. Just jump. God will catch you. God are his people. So just want to say that. I think King is ready. I'm going to bring him back on now, and he will read the poem that's dedicated to my William.
This was for the homecoming of
Going.
Mr. William Brinkley, who was a dear friend to me and many others. And I miss him dearly. He was a man of great value and substance, and he set a very high standard for us. Um, Fortress of a man. Forward is the beginning of what is our purpose. Given us breath in us, we thank God for William Brinkley, the Brink, Sir William. In this today, we remember Sir William, a stalwart, artistic, gifted man, quietly yet secure in his faith, the tireless foundation of the blueprint of hard work, the pride of working for and on the behalf of others. In awe of God's favor, undoubtedly, a beautiful mother and father were gifted. God had to us a fortress of a man. If beyond nothing more than meeting William, the slight twinkle in his eyes was a sure sign of wise words to come. He was easy to admire and easily in tune with others, and money and manners to boot. A linguist he was not, yet perhaps glib to a fault. I always look forward to his shalom, y'all. It was a distinct character of who he was. With many, he built quality friendships. Many are present and seated today, as though that knew him most his tongue really elevated, or his tone really elevated, but his point was always made crystal clear. No one said it better than the Brink. As inclusive as he was to many, he was exclusive to his children, his queen, and his parents. Fiercely loyal and dedicated, but his first love and most exciting was his Lord and Savior, King Jesus. The Brink was magically beautiful, as a man thinketh, so he is. The father of two to Sabra and Jillian, a gratified side beside the queen, the A side, and he would tell anyone that. To his love, Sean Leray, his mind and heart, a rare and special diamond of a girl. In his life, that refined silk was her touch to his heart. There was a light that glimmered on the night of his queen's 60th birthday. They danced as if it was their first time everything, but it wasn't. It was anointed at birth, and even after this life as well. I love you, Sean Leray. And so many love you, Sir William Brinkley. I am too blessed to be stressed, he would say. Through his life, he was a protector, anointed teacher of life lessons, and what mattered most, to help others to be better than he was. Maybe all should aspire to the compassionate wisdom and the fervor for their brothers and sisters. As many will stand and tears will fall, we all should cherish most of all. My God gave me grace to be him I am. My friend, Sir William Brinkley, was a fortress of a man.
Thank you, King.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your heart for sharing that. And yeah, what a great way to end the show. King captured William so flawlessly in that rendition that he just gave. William was all of the things that King said and so much more. And such a kind man and gentleman to everyone that he met. There was never a stranger that he met, and his heart was as big as Texas. And I appreciate that my friend King could get to know my husband, William Joseph, and they became close friends. And just really appreciate your taking the time to do that and to share it tonight. That is an example of King James's work. And as you can see, like Ellen said, there's nothing more powerful than a man not afraid to cry. And I appreciate your heart, King. And I appreciate that you put that heart into everything that you do. So, ladies, if you are out there and you need a poem for that special someone in your life, then I invite you to call King James, the love poet. And it's Poet's Rain, the Poet's Rain.
Yes, thepoetsrain.com, and my number is 1-800 963 8084. That's 1-800 963 8084. Or you can email at info@thepoetsrain.com. That's INFO, info@thepoetsrain.com. And I just want to give a few shout outs. Do I have time?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, to my best buddy, Bill. Love you, big bro. Thank you so much. To Renee, thank you for just being who you are in my life. To my brother in law, Bill, I call him King Bill, my sister's husband. to my baby sister Lisa, and to my nephews and nieces, Tamar, Monet, and of course my angels. That's Aaliyah, Alyssa, and Alana. Thank
Well, I
you.
think that's awesome.
And of course, Pastor Carla. Sorry.
And thank you for joining us, Pastor Carla. So there's the info on how you can reach King James the Love Poet, 800-963-8084, thepoetsreign.com, and email him at info@thepoetsreign.com. And before we go, I'm going to just send you lots of love and prosperity for this weekend, and that you
Thank you.
find, or that all of the people, and I love this, and people have been saying it lately, who are your assignment, find you at the LA Women's Expo. And so you all know where to reach King James, and we thank you for spending some time with us tonight on Boss Talk, and it's for bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars. And King James, I thank you for being my first male guest, part of the Gentleman's Monthly Selection.
It's been
Thank
an
you.
honor. Thank
Now, y'all know what to do. Live loved. This is Sean LeRae signing off. Good night.